What is up, Pats Nation? It is Patriots Global back here with another video. And the Patriots, well, the entire NFL, but obviously you're just coming here to know about the Patriots, have concluded the first round of the 2019 NFL Draft. I'll start by saying some crazy moves. I'm actually pretty impressed with myself, though. Not trying to sound full of myself or anything, but with how many picks I actually projected, because I did my own little projection of the whole 32 NFL team roster prediction on who they were going to draft, and I actually got like a little more than half of them correct, so I'm actually pretty shocked. But with the 32nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Patriots select wide receiver N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State. Like I said, guys, some crazy things happened. We've heard some crazy rumors. We heard the Patriots possibly taking a quarterback in the first. I'd never truly bought that. Then we possibly heard about them trading up for TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant. Both of them definitely got selected sooner than the Patriots expected, so obviously that didn't have much of an impact when it came to much of anything. But then you have guys like DK Metcalf who were not drafted. You have guys like A.J. Brown who were not drafted, and I'm a pretty big A.J. Brown fan. And we actually never made a video on N'Keal Harry. We made so many videos on so many wide receiver draft prospects. Obviously, we could not make a video on all of them, but a lot of you were commenting something about N'Keal Harry, and hey, we got him. So, looking at his NFL draft profile, how he performed at the Combine, he graded as a chance to become an NFL starter. So, he's a guy that they should plug in and should very well become a starter. Now, he's a guy that will play on the outside. He's a guy that can play in the middle, but he will mostly play on the outside. So for any of you guys that are finally not wanting those slot receivers, some big guy to play on the outside, we finally got him. This guy is 6'2", 228 pounds, and has very lengthy arms. And something I noticed about him right away when I was watching his highlight reel is that this is a guy that will go up and get the balls. He really locates the ball very well in the air and is able to really catch those jump balls. As for his speed, he ran a 4.53 40-yard dash, so he's nothing fast. He's no Andy Isabella. He's not going to burn defenders by any means, but he's also not some crazy slow guy that, you're going to have some issues with when it comes to speed. He actually was projected to go in the second round, and his NFL comparison is Allen Robinson, but really, draft projections don't matter. We saw guys that were supposed to be projected much later in the draft that got selected in the first round. So, honestly, you can't really listen to that kind of stuff all the time. He is a back shoulder type of catcher who really thrives with contested catches. When he gets those opportunities, very good on the outside, and the numbers show that, but he does lack some of those explosive traits that you're looking for. But if Tom Brady's going to throw the ball up, a type of 50-50 ball, and if you don't know what a 50-50 ball is, it's the defender has a 50% chance of getting the ball, and then the wide receiver has a 50% chance of getting the ball. So it's really an equal chance of who gets that ball. And so if Brady's going to throw those type of passes ever, this is the guy who most of the time will come down with him. His ability to body up opponents and win with his ball skills is undeniable, but his inability to find a threatening top gear or shake loose from those tight man coverage and press must be accounted for, especially now going into the Patriots scheme. He has a lot of experience playing on the outside, so that's something really important that he's going to be bringing into the NFL. He's going to be bringing into the team, and that's definitely much needed for the Patriots. The Patriots really have lacked that strong, tough guy on the outside for a while. They tried to do it with Chris Hogan. Obviously, Chris Hogan left. They did it with Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson has left. So definitely a good idea getting a big guy who can play on the outside and excels at that position. Now, while he does have experience on the outside, he actually has a lot of experience on the inside too, and that will help him, just as a whole, being in this wide receiver group. He's going to be a very versatile guy, but something that teams will love, and I'm sure something that Bill Belichick picked him for, is that he has a very huge impact as a run blocker. We all know the Patriots are really trying to get that run game going. You had Gronk, who was a really big blocker, really great blocker for the Patriots, but obviously he is gone, and it's very underrated wide receivers when it comes to run blocking. And you're going to need guys like Sony Michel to really get going, but he can't get going unless he has blockers. We've seen what he can do when he has blockers, and the Patriots are definitely trying to establish a run game and keep it established. So really good getting a guy that can really block for them in the run game. His competitiveness and ability to come down with the ball could make him a very productive member of a wide receiver group. So some of his strengths are that he is a very, very highly competitive guy in not just one aspect of his game, but in every aspect of his game. He's also very consistently productive over his 3 seasons. He was not, up and down and up and down. He was very consistent, and that's something that the Patriots need in a wide receiver. Not a guy who shines now and then, but a guy who can consistently shine in and out. It says here that he's a very fearless player, and he plays with that fearless demeanor and also with, I quote, alpha swagger. Another thing that he's really good at is that he uses his hands to swat coverage and jam release from press. Obviously, he's a very big guy. He's a very big receiver. He's very presentable target on slants and in zone work. He's going to be a guy that could really be good for the Patriots in the red zone. The Patriots have struggled in the red zone for a good amount of time now, especially when it comes to the passing game. A lot of times when they're in that red zone, you really see them trying to go to that run game. You try to see them establish that with the Sony Michel or even an underrated James Devlin. But when it comes to passing in the red zone, it's something that they have lacked pretty hardcore for a few seasons now. He's a guy that doesn't try to rush anything. He really does play with patience and poise in order to win combat catches. He has pretty strong hands. He's a guy who should be fairly consistent and not have really any drop problems when it comes to Tom Brady. Obviously, we know with Tom Brady, if he's going to throw you the ball and you're going to drop that ball, he's quickly going to lose faith in you. Your chemistry with him is going to go down, and ultimately you're just not going to have a productive season because you're not going to get the ball from him. He's the type of wide receiver that outworks his opponents in order to carve out workspace in very tight quarters. Like I mentioned earlier, he wins jump balls with well-timed leaps and frame to shield the finish, and that is something you will see throughout his highlight reel. You see that a lot in his highlight reels, and that's something I think Brady will like, because Brady likes to place the ball in some funky places, but he really likes to put them in these weird places so that the wide receiver can get it, but so the defender can't get it. He places it pretty perfectly, and this is a guy who can really get those and be strong and keep them in his hands when breaking the fall. Because of his strong hands, he does have a nice stiff arm, and he uses that stiff arm in order to get away from defenders, in order to create yards after the catch. Like I mentioned, as a run blocker, he is very good. He is actually quoted as a junkyard dog. He's extremely willing to block in the running game. He isn't just scared to get in there. And lastly, he can clinch and manhandle finesse corners in space. All right, now for his weaknesses, things to be concerned about, things for him to work out on. So his feet are not quick enough in stutter release versus press, so he does have some issues versus those press coverages. He tends to wear tight press coverage for much of the route, and his downhill speed fails to threaten most cornerbacks. The more experienced NFL corners, the more star type of NFL corners, are more likely to squat and squeeze on his breaks and turns. Now, obviously, we have a good secondary. You have the best cornerback in the league. You have a rising cornerback in J.C. Jackson, so maybe working with them in the offseason can help develop him more. He is too upright, slowing his route breaks. He has had a couple of issues with a few drops heading into traffic, so when there's a lot of traffic and Brady's throwing him that ball in said traffic, he has had a few drops. Nothing crazy, but has had a few. They say that he needs to get better with his urgency, especially when getting up the field after the catch. So he can get the ball, he can stiff arm for yards after the catch, but he needs to really boost himself. He needs to get more urgent in getting up the field after he does catch the ball and not take his time. and he has below average stop and start quickness to elude and accelerate. So basically what that means is that he isn't really going to trick defenders with that, quick and then starting and then stopping. He's not really going to fool much defenders with that. He doesn't have a crazy accelerate, but at the same time he doesn't have crazy speed, so what are you really going to expect from that? A lot of people do look at separation in the NFL, and I actually read something that said that not much wide receivers or receivers in general get that much separation. You have to know how to use your body and your route leverage and actually have strong hands to be a good wide receiver, to make catches, to keep the chains moving. And that is exactly what a guy like N'Keal Harry has developed. That's what he has showcased throughout his time in college. But that is it for today's video. That is your draft video on the Patriots' first round pick 32 overall, wide receiver N'Keal Harry. Tomorrow will be rounds 2 and 3. I will make sure I pop those draft videos out for you guys when they drop. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? Of course, there were mixed feelings. The Patriots really never draft wide receivers in the first round. Bill Belichick has not really been known for doing well with drafting and developing wide receivers. But we all knew this was such a strong need for the Patriots, and by no means are they done drafting wide receivers. But definitely an upgrade to this still thin wide receiver group. So what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Also, make sure you guys like and subscribe, as it helps me, the channel, and even you guys out very, very, very much. Make sure you guys share this video with everybody who knows when go to the Patriots Global family. And other than that, I will catch you guys in another video.